Hello, I'm a professional investor. You're a professional investor. There's tons of market professionals out there, investment professionals. Now, there is no possibility that as a group, we would allow a name of a company and nothing else to influence us, and that those names couldn't possibly affect the pricing and return of those companies, right? Well, let's take a look at two different companies. Okay, these are hypothetical situations here, but we have one company, it's called Super Duper International. We have this other company, it's called MyFirk Zamarakevkov. But otherwise, they are all very similar companies, or they're exactly the same essentially, right? They have a stock price of 20, earnings per share of $3.18, revenues per share of $7.32. They're both in the technology sector. They are essentially the same companies, the only difference being their name. Now, it turns out that people will be more attracted to Super Duper International than they are attracted to this MyFirk Zamarakevkov company. So let's actually look at some data here. So back in the dot-com era, lots of companies added .com to their name. So they were, pets company, and now they're pets.com kind of a thing, even if they had brick and mortar stores. Now, it turns out on average that the companies that did this, added .com to it, had an increase in share price of 74%, and that these gains did not disappear over time. It was kind of a one-time boost to their valuation that didn't go away. For example, MIS International changed their name to Cosmos.com, very similar names, right? And their price increased by 1,000%. Recently, we've also seen, companies that add the word China to their name also have very similar types of outperformance. And even more recently, we've seen, adding Bitcoin or blockchain to your name has dramatic impacts on your performance. In fact, kind of the worst case scenario has been a stock price increase of about 300%, so tripling your stock price by just adding this part to your name. And we've seen companies with enormous stock gains, again, associated just with this name change, 42,500% increase in share pricing. Now, there are also lots of academic studies that seem to document this phenomenon. We've seen that in China, there's a noise trading phenomenon where names with stocks that have kind of good names, they tend to be overpriced and over purchased, and names with kind of regular or unattractive names are underpriced. So it kind of seems like these names with the good name stocks, we have lower expected returns here. So it seems to be it seems to reverse over time. Now, again, this is in China, where names are probably more important than they are, say, in English-speaking companies. There was another study that looked at name changes over a long period of time, and they found that in general, name changes were associated with improved performance. And there's another study that says just kind of the ease in the way you say the name. So think back to the Super Duker and MyFirk example. The ease with which you can say the name, or even the ticker symbol. If it's kind of is used to sound out, it is just just easier for people to buy these names. There's some effect with trading there. Now, this happens the first few days of trading, so right after an IPO, and investors tend to correct themselves over time. There was another study where they looked at just kind of the likability of the name, the way it sounds, had long-term effects on stock price performance and fundamental performance, meaning the companies actually did better given this one effect. So the idea here being that people would just be attracted to a nicely sounding name company in terms of the way they're gonna tailor their consumer purchases and whatnot. So there is an actual fundamental reason for this. So just think companies that have just nice sounding names like Zoe Bean will initially outperform companies with names like this Kuzka. And that is, in fact, a reference. If someone can tell me what that is a reference to, I'll give you some super kudos on that. Now, these things are just, in fact, mental shortcuts, right? Think about representativeness. We're just kind of allowing our perceptions of a company name to kind of spill over into our impressions of the company as a whole, which there should not be any direct correlation there. It's kind of an evaluation shortcut, right? So we're just kind of basing our evaluation on a limited set of data, or even data that's just not even meaningful at all. It's the name itself gives us some sort of comfort, or there's some familiarity to it that again is not rooted in the actual fundamentals of the company. So I want to encourage you to always, perform a complete analysis with all the data you can get before you jump to any sort of, intrinsic value calculations or pricing targets or things of that nature. Really, focus on what is important today. I think you're going to have better long-term results. Thank you so much.